Cho's behavior was starting to not go unnoticed. On December 12th, 2005, the Virginia Tech Police Department received multiple complaints about some of the creepy stuff Cho had been doing. His most recent stunt being vandalizing Emily Hilscher's door. Oh yeah, I got something factually wrong in the last episode. Last episode I said that Cho wrote the lyrics to Collective Soul's Shine on Emily Hilscher's door, but it turns out, Cho only wrote the lyrics to that specific song on his wall. What he wrote on her door was actually far creepier. He actually quoted Romeo and Juliet. By a name, I know not how, tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself, because it is an enemy to thee. Had I it written, I would tear the word. This quote holds significance, as Cho had extremely low self-esteem and didn't like his own name at all. In fact, if you remember correctly, Cho actually introduced himself to people as ? Anyway, shortly after the police were notified of Cho's behavior, he received a visit from campus police. He was informed that he was no longer to have any contact with Emily unless he was looking for trouble. Cho actually handled it pretty well. On opposite day, right after campus police left, Cho texted his suite-mate, I might as well kill myself. Cho, not being very smart, didn't think about the fact that his suite-mate probably wasn't buddy-buddy with him, and most likely didn't want to make edgy jokes about suicide. In fact, his suite-mate actually reported this to the police. Later that same day, those same police officers returned to Cho's room to see what his problem was. Cho was detained and sent to the Virginia Tech Police Department for an evaluation. Surprise, surprise, it was found that Cho was severely mentally ill. However, it was mistakenly determined that while Cho is mentally ill, he does not present an imminent danger to himself or others, which is very untrue. It was noted that he had access to a firearm, had been stalking people, and doing violent and incredibly disturbing things, yet for some reason he still wasn't deemed dangerous. However, he was recommended for an involuntary stay at a mental clinic. Surprise, surprise, he was discharged. A few weeks later in Cho's creative writing class, his teacher demanded that he stay after class to discuss some of his writings as they were really fucking inappropriate and weird. Here's an excerpt from one of his last creative writing pieces. It tells the story of a morning in the life of Bud, who gets out of bed unusually early, puts on his black jeans, a strappy black vest with many pockets, a black hat, and large, dark sunglasses, and a flimsy jacket. At school, he observes students strut inside smiling, laughing, embracing each other. A few eyes glance at Bud, but without the glint of recognition. I hate this. I hate all these frauds. I hate my life. This is it. This is when you damn people die with me. So, yeah, honestly, I would ask Cho to see me after class if he handed this shit in unironically. Anyway, when class was over, Cho's teacher scolded him on how disturbing his writings were and how petty his efforts were in class, before he then turned around and started walking to his personal office. Cho was very unhappy with this and actually started to follow his teacher into his office uninvited. To make things creepier, his teacher knew he was doing this and just didn't want to confront Cho about it because he was scared of him. When the teacher finally made his way into the office, Cho was just standing in the doorway, staring silently at his teacher for a few minutes until his teacher suggested that Cho drop the class, because he's too abusive and lazy to pass. Cho continued staring for a minute, until he finally started screaming at his teacher about how he didn't want to drop the class, and about how unfair his teacher was. Cho, of course, was reprimanded for his behavior, and was asked to leave and not come back until he could control himself better. This was a breaking point for Cho, and would be his last unsatisfactory experience before the attack. A few weeks later, in February of 2007, Cho ordered 2 semi-automatic pistols, waiting at least 30 days before receiving each one, as state law suggests. He would spend the next few months preparing for the massacre, stocking up on knives and ammunition, and recording manifestos that he would mail to news stations shortly before the attack.
You forced me into a corner and gave me only one option. I didn't have to do this. I could have left. I could have fled. But no, I will no longer run. If not for me, for my children.
At 5:30 in the morning, Cho gets up and brushes his teeth before arming himself and getting dressed. He leaves his dorm shortly after. 7 a.m., Emily Hilscher is dropped off by her boyfriend and goes to relax in her dorm before class. 15 minutes later, Cho, armed with a pistol, makes his way into Emily Hilscher's room as her door was unlocked. He closes the door behind him quietly, and then shoots Emily Hilscher and her roommate, point blank, killing them both instantly. As Cho's clothes were covered in blood, he made his way back to his dorm to change into clean ones. Shortly after, the police were called to Emily's room to see about noise coming from there. When officers arrived at the scene, they saw 2 dead bodies and started an immediate investigation. Around 9 a.m., Cho sends in a package containing all of his manifesto to NBC News. 40 minutes later, Cho enters Norris Hall, located inside of Virginia Tech, goes into room 206 and starts shooting. Cho shoots the professor of that class to death before killing 9 other students and wounding 3 others with minor bullet wounds. Cho peeks into room 207 and shoots the professor of that class to death. Cho then exited the classroom and made his way into room 211, which was a French class. He starts walking down rows of desks, shooting as many people as he can, point blank. At this point in time, police are already on the scene. Cho attempts to enter room 204. However, it is being barricaded and blocked by that room's professor. Said professor is shot to death through the door. Cho returned to room 206 before he then continued shooting survivors to death. At 9:51, police use a shotgun to shoot the school's door lock-off, as it automatically locked, due to the school's lockdown system. This alerts Cho to the police arriving at the scene. Seconds later, Cho turned his pistol to his own head and pulled the trigger. Cho is dead. Cho's story is one that won't be forgotten anytime soon. It's a story of somebody who victimized themselves so much they believed that they were entitled to revenge on people who had done no wrong. 32 people may have left planet Earth that day, but they will never be forgotten.
Carving at the walls and he's come inside. I'm begging, pleading God, but there's no insight. Tell my mama it'll be alright. Such a fucking coward, I put up no fight. I wish I would have seen. No, the writing is on the wall. Carving at the